Hi, this is Seamless, and today we're going to look at how to do what we disgusting, what we talked about in How to Base 28, and it was a trick we did in Harmor to make a cool wobble kind of sound. But now I'm going to show you how to do it in Sytrus for those of you who have Sytrus but don't have Harmor. So here's a default Sytrus. I'm gonna leave that alone because I want to actually explain what Harmor was doing earlier. So the way that we got Harmor to do what we want to do is that we use the Detune function. Now, what the Detune function does is that it doesn't change the pitch of everything evenly. It moves the harmonic partials away from the fundamental being the basemost note down here. So then watch the viewer as I mess with the detune. And also note that now when I have detune up at 2, it actually looks a lot like what happens when I move just the square wave. And that has to do with the partials being in a particular position and a particular volume, and that creates the different wave shape additively, and that has to do with how additive synthesis does its job. But I kept it at 2, because I just liked how the square wave kind of sounded when we messed with it as we did in How to Base 28, which if you haven't watched, you should. So that's why I did that, and that's important because to recreate this sort of pitch warble as a result of phase cancellation from the notes no longer being in perfect harmonic sync, we're going to actually start with a saw wave instead of a square wave in Sytrus instead of the saw wave that we started with in Harmor. So here's the default Sytrus and has that string patch that loads. So let's open up actually a default Sytrus and then pitch it down so it's a bass. So Sytrus actually has a little additive engine inside it, and what it is this oscillator window, OSC, where we can individually trigger sine harmonics, which you can actually use to recreate a saw wave additively in this almost the exact same way that Harmor does it. We're going to do this by creating a saw wave, then convert shape to sine harmonics, and then there it is. Now we have all the harmonics engaged, and that's what's creating the square wave sound. I keep trying to call it a saw wave. And so what I'm going to do not turn off totally, but I'm going to attenuate the fundamental. And I'm doing this because I'm going to engage another operator to go out, and that's just going to be the fundamental by itself, a sine fundamental. Now, if I detune the square wave with the harmonics, all the harmonics, it has almost the exact same effect as if we did it earlier in Harmor. It's kind of hard to hear it. It doesn't move around in the exact same fashion that Harmor does, but when we distort it, it should be more clear. And there you go. And we could do the same thing we did with Harmor, which is engage a little bit of the unison. Now the unison controls aren't as powerful as Harmor's. For example, it's not as easy to control what part of the spectrum has what amount of unison engaged in it, but this is more or less the sound. That's more or less how you would do it. I only just now experimented with this to see if this works, and I can't really now speak towards more advanced things that you can do with this, but this is more or less the basic way that you would accomplish the same sort of LFO through phase cancellation and pitch bending in Sytrus. So I hope this was helpful, and hope this answered your question, guy in the forums.